Okay, guys, welcome back. In this session, we are going to basically learn about the deployment options. What sort of deployment options we have? We can either use local deployment, or we can develop Docker. And using Docker, we can basically deploy our application whether on public cloud or any private cloud, or we can use Streamlit public cloud options. And also, we will be able to learn on how we can basically deploy this application on Google Cloud run using Docker. All right. So, what is Docker? So basically, Docker is a tool where we can basically package our application and all the necessary tools into a file, and use that file. We call that file as a Docker image, and we can basically run that image to interact with any application. Okay, so there's another file we use basically is called Docker Compose, which is kind of instructions how we basically how basically run the Docker. And yeah, so we will go through on this file as well. Okay, so the Docker file. So as you may know, every Docker file starts with from. All right, from. So this is a Python image already hosted on Docker Hub. So we pull this image and we call this as builder, and we define some environment variables here, and we update our packages, because this one all includes a Debian version of Linux. So we update and we install few more packages here to make this work. Also, we define here some permissions, and we create a app user here, and we give some permissions here. And so all these are pretty much standard procedures when you are setting up your Linux machine. And our magic starts from here. First thing we want to install a Poetry environment manager. So here the Python comes from this image. We install Poetry here with this version, specifically this version. You can use your own version as well. And then we define our working directory, and we copy this file, uh, toml file and log file, to this location. So where are these files? These files you can see here, these two files. These two files basically define how we basically create our environment. So where is that? Okay, so back to here. So we copy those files here, and then we install Poetry install with some additional arguments, and it will install the Poetry here. So that will complete our builder environment. And in the next one, again we take the same 3.11 Buster Python image. We call this as runtime. What it takes, so it will take an environment, or copy the environment we just created, and we'll paste into our runtime routine. So again, define here environment variables. So we define again the app user, some permissions. This is our working directory, and here we copy. So this specific command will give the permissions, and from builder to here. So what is builder? Builder environment is here. This is our builder environment. So it will copy into our runtime environment. And yeah, so and also we want to copy these few other data about the application. So one thing is we want to copy all the files under this demo apps into our app, and also some configuration about Streamlit. So it's just simple configuration. So we define our port. We say the maximum upload size is 15, so you can change this one. So it's 15 MB. There was a question a while ago as well, so you guys can change this parameter and run on save. So whenever you run server and you save the file, it tries to do the hard loading. If you these are options you can define here. So let's come back to our Docker file again. Okay, so all the data, once that is there, so we want to run now a command. So command is simple. So streamlit run. So this is our location of the main file, which we have already seen. and yes, it does things. So this is our composition of Docker file. So just to recap, so it does create two routines. One is the builder, the other one is the runtime. So why we do? Because what we wanted is that we want to create environment once and use it anywhere. So it's like the first time when you run this, it will take some time, but the next time you run, it will be very fast because it doesn't have to create this environment again. It will just this will run a runtime, and it will copy the environment from the another builder. So if anything changes, so this environment will change, otherwise it will remain there. Okay, so this is our Docker file. Let's say what's the Docker Compose. So Docker Compose is that it has version 2, version 3. So we are using version 3, and you define services if you want to run more than one Dockers and they depend on each other. So that's where Docker Compose comes into play. So you define your image, which we are going to generate right now, and you define your port and also the which file to run. Okay, so now we have seen this. Let's go and run here. So we have instruction already here. So we use this command to build the Docker. So here, let's do it. Okay, it says that my Docker desktop is not running, so I need to run that first. So this is my Docker setup, just like a Docker desktop. I'm using WSL2. So uh, once it's done, then we can basically run this. One more thing here, when you build your Docker container, so there is another special package called Docker build kit. So by using this one, your images are properly sized, and yeah, it's quick. So I recommend to read about this Docker build as well. And then you have to define your Docker image name with the latest, or you can define version here. So this dot means it will generate the Docker image in the same location, or you can define the actual location. Let's say you want to have your Docker images going into one particular location, then you can define here. And target here is a runtime. As we have seen earlier, there were two images, so we wanted to run runtime. Okay, so a simple command is Docker build location of your image slash t is your image name. Okay, so it will go and look for the Docker file like this. If it will not find Docker file, then it will stop. By default, it will look for this one, and it will run the instruction like that. Okay, let's see if my no, it's not done yet because it's still starting. Okay, so once the image is done, then either you can run Docker using Docker run slash d means detached name of the Docker, which port, and the name of your image. It will run that. The other option run is using the Docker Compose, so which is like a recommended one. So you have seen Docker Compose. You define your instruction here, and then you say Docker Compose up. It will run the application. Okay, so now it's building because I have already built the first image, so it's second is pretty quick, right? So now once it's done, let's say we go to Docker Compose up, it will be, we can see the our Docker application running in Docker pretty quick. Yep, it's spinning off. Okay, it says here open. Sometimes you will face some issues like loading up this application. So it's a local host, so I can say local host. Okay, here because my application is running backend uh, what you call Linux and Windows WS2. Sometimes it gives you issue with this access, so you have to just type here. So this application is basically running in the Docker now. All right, so here you can basically play with this application and all is working fine. Okay, so here that we can basically stop our Docker. Yep. The other way of if you are using Docker desktop, you can basically go Docker desktop and see the images, or you can run application from there as well. So it looks like this. Here you can basically see images. These are the images, and then yes, so containers, and you can basically, when the application running, you can see some information here as well. So this covers our topic on how we build or pack our application into Docker. In the next step, we basically can discuss the deployment on Google Cloud and Streamlit public cloud. Let's discuss on this topic.